now that you know what your ideal life, ideal day looks like, you have the control over it. You can choose the job opportunity that gets you there, into that career, into that lifestyle, into all of that stuff, and reach that end goal. Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Conversations podcast. Today, we're going to do an exercise, a life changing exercise. I have done it myself, and it also has been life changing for me. And I've heard so many different people, and I've seen so many different people having incredible results and actually, getting their lives on their ideal track, having done this exercise. The beauty of it is that we never sit down and really think about what we want our lives to be. We do tend to complain a lot about what it isn't, but we never really think about what do we actually want, because once we actually figure out what it is that we want, we're able to take the actions and shift our routines and shift our lifestyle. And sometimes it's pretty small things that are in our control to make us just that much happier. And without doing this exercise, we'll never know. So we're about to do this exercise. Take out a journal and pause this episode whenever you need to journal about this. Basically, what I will be doing is I will be reading out questions that I have prepared for you that will take you through a visualization exercise. And your job here is to, when I ask a question, pause, think about it, visualize your ideal life. So, ideal day, an ideal life, and an ideal world. What does it look like? And write it down. Write down whatever comes to your mind, whatever you see, and really truly feel it through, right? You want to make sure that it feels right. It's not just, you wake up on a yacht and that's what it is for you. No, like a realistic, what will be fulfilling for you, a day in the life of your ideal self. Before we jump into this exercise, I just want to make a little disclaimer that there are some questions that are work focused, on career focused, and it's aimed to help you identify what it is that you want to do in life, in your career, and hopefully give you some clarity on that, because this video will help those who have watched last week's video and last week's episode on how to make the right decisions in your career. So if you haven't watched that yet, if you haven't listened to that podcast episode, go ahead and do that right. Well, after we're done with this exercise, because this exercise is included in that video in one of the steps, in step number 1. So if you do this exercise, you will be ahead. And if you have some decisions to make, go and watch that episode right now. I will link it in the description below. Finally, one more note. If there's something that I don't ask about, but it comes up in your mind, in your visualization throughout this process, because sometimes, our associations take us in different paths, by all means, write it down. Just keep me paused and write it all down, because the more you get on paper, the more you visualize, the more you think about your ideal life, ideal day, the more you will get out of this exercise. It's not an exercise that you're doing for me, it's an exercise that you're doing for you. So if something else comes to mind, go ahead and add it there. And if you have any other questions to add them in the comments below. Super curious to hear what other questions you would have asked yourself in this exercise. All right, let's get into it. I hope you have your journal ready. I hope you have your pen ready, or a piece of paper, or you can also do it, digitally. I just find writing things down more meaningful. You ready? We're going to imagine your day from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and also some other things that are regular habits in your life. So you wake up in your ideal day, in your perfect world. Where are you? Pause to answer. What time do you wake up? What do you do when you wake up? Is there a morning routine that you follow? Who do you see? What are you doing when you wake up? What is the first thing that you do when you wake up? And it can be multiple actions, multiple behaviors. Pause to answer. What does your house or the place where you wake up look like? Do you own it? Do you rent it? Is it in the city? Is it in the outskirts of the city? Is it in the countryside? Is it in the middle of nowhere? Is it on the cliff of an ocean? Describe the place where you're at. Who are the first people that you see every single day and how? What time do you start working? And what do you focus on first thing in the morning when working? What are some of the tasks that you reserve for that fresh, fresh minded, fresh creativity state of mind? How often do you take breaks on your ideal day? And what do you do during those breaks? What do you do in the afternoon? How do you schedule out the different types of work throughout your day? Is there a system to it? If yes, what do you prefer doing in the mornings? What do you prefer doing in the afternoons? What do you prefer doing in the evenings? And if there's certain days of the week that you prefer doing certain things, list it out. Write down, for example, Monday is admin day, Tuesday is meeting day. Write whatever comes to mind when it comes to your ideal work schedule. How do you stay alert and energized throughout your day? What do you do to do that? What kind of work are you doing? List some of the projects that are on your plate right now and what is your role in them? Is it a full time job? Is it a part time job? Are there any side projects? What are you working on these days? What do your projects look like? What's your input into those projects? What problems or challenges do you have in your work? What problems are you solving currently? What excites you and energizes you about what you do, about your work, about your impact? Who are you working with? Who do you interact with on a day to day basis? In terms of colleagues, we will touch on family and loved ones a little later. But if something comes to mind again, go ahead, write it down. Where and who do you have your meals with? And what are you eating? List breakfast, lunch, dinner, all of the different meals, like snacks, coffee breaks. List what you're doing, what you're eating, what are you drinking, and who is it with and where is it. Visualize as much detail as you can. Who are your friends or loved ones, and how do you interact with them? How often? Where? What do you do? How do you feel throughout your ideal day? And what makes you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? What or who are you thinking about throughout your ideal day? And if you want to list different things throughout your day, throughout your schedule, please go ahead and do that. What are you wearing throughout your ideal day? Just list some of the things, some of the characteristics of the clothes that you want to wear on your ideal day. And how does it feel? How does that clothing make you feel? What do you do in the evenings? Do you have any rituals or routines throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your year? If yes, list them and write down what you do in those rituals. What time do you go to bed? And what does your bed look like? What does your bedroom look like? And now, onto some of the more regular, not necessarily day specific things, but let's think about what do you do during the weekends or your days off, like vacation days as well. How do you spend those days? If you want to write down a rough schedule, go ahead. The more details, the better. How do you relax and disconnect? What habits of self care do you have? What do you do on a regular basis to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you are prioritizing yourself, and that you're putting your oxygen mask on first? To be able to show up as your best self for everybody else, because this is ideal world and we want to make sure what would you do in an ideal world. What hobbies do you have? How often and how do you practice them? And who do you practice them with? What personal or professional skills are you currently learning, building, and practicing? How do you do that and how often? What is your creative outlet? Do you have any side projects? I know we've covered this a little bit, but I want to reiterate it again. And finally, what aspects of your life do you find the most meaningful and fulfilling? All right, so that was a lot of questions. And if you have anything else that you came up throughout this visualization with, write it down. Just think through your ideal day, think through your ideal week, through your ideal year, ideal vacation, etc. Write it down and write down how it makes you feel as well, because that's so important. And once you're done with all of that, think through your life right now and what you just wrote. And how can you make certain changes to your routine already? What is in your control that's easily fixable to get to that ideal life? And there will also be areas which will take much longer to get to that ideal life. However, now that you know what your ideal life, ideal day looks like, you have the control over it. You can choose the job opportunity that gets you there. You can choose the to learn the skills that will help you get to the direction, get into that career, into that lifestyle, into all of that stuff, and reach that end goal. However, this exercise should be done often, because as you grow, as you evolve, as you develop, this may change. It has changed for me for sure. I would have probably said different things before the pandemic as well, as now, 2 years in, my life and my perspective has changed drastically to what it was 2 years ago. And it probably will change dramatically when, life becomes less pandemic-y. And when, if I have children, it will look different. When, if another stage of my life happens, it will be different. So this is an exercise that you should keep on coming back to over and over again. And, when you wrote it down, save that document, save that piece of paper, save that notebook or whatever for your future self to review, and see if that feels meaningful to that version of you, if it still aligns with what they want from an ideal day and an ideal life. So, yeah, make sure that you revisit it. However, now that you've done this, you are in control. You're able to see the destination and you can plan out the path. So if you do have any important career decisions that you need to make sure you go ahead and watch that or listen to that other episode on the career decisions, which I will leave a link to in the description of this episode, so you don't have to go far to search for it. However, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, to this YouTube channel, because we have other really cool stuff coming for you and I don't want you to miss it. We can also be friends on other social media. You can find us as Stereotype Breakers. Let us know what you thought about this episode, what you thought about this exercise. If anything new and groundbreaking came out of this exercise, I really hope that it has been as powerful for you as it was for me, because once I realized what my ideal life looks like, I understood how in control I was to make it happen, and that I had the tools to make it happen, that I had the power to make it happen and to create my ideal life. It is easy to complain. It is much harder to figure out where you want to go to be happy and make that happen. And I believe in you. I believe that you will make that happen. So, whether it is changing your career or shifting some of the things in your routine, you are capable of that. And on that note, have a wonderful time of the day you're currently experiencing. Bye.